I am the greatest.
I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass.
You won't do shit. Just stick and move. And just making you understand. Now stick and move. Keep your hands up.
Welcome to a new episode of the Stick and Move podcast. I'm your host, Trey, and today we're talking about, is Tyson Fury overrated? Now, this is part of a popular series that I have on this channel where we talk about, where I dissect which boxers have had that tend to be in the limelight, but may be a little bit overrated. We recently had one on Terrence Crawford, if he's overrated. We've done one on Julio Cesar Chavez, if he's overrated. We've done Roy Jones Jr. We've done Mike Tyson on the overrated series. So go ahead, like and subscribe, and you can go ahead and check out those episodes on our channel. And we appreciate that very much. Now, look, Tyson Fury, is he overrated? I'm a little bit torn because, we tend to put boxers in a box, pun, in a strange way where we don't know if we are confusing them as a great boxer because they are in a great era, or are they a great boxer and they are just fighting pretty much nobodies. Now, look, when it comes to Tyson Fury's career, I'll be honest with you. It sounds great on paper. He held multiple heavyweight world titles. He was unified. He had unified titles from 2015 to 2016. The Ring Magazine title twice between 2015 and 2022. The WBC title from 20 to 2024. He also held the IBO title during his first reign as champion. And look, you could go back to his major bout with Klitschko in 2015. Nobody expected Klitschko to lose that fight. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was upset of the year. And Ring Magazine would honor him with that as fighter of the year. Things would turn for the worse for Tyson Fury. After his bout with Klitschko, he would pretty much take 3 years off, going into kind of like a depression with drugs. He would fail multiple tests. I know he had a weight issue. I think he gained over dozens of pounds, weighing over 330 pounds at one point, if I'm not mistaken. And if you're 6'9" and weigh 330 pounds, that is not good. Of course, he was contemplating suicide. There's that famous story of him in a Ferrari going over 190 miles per hour, about to take his life, turning into one of the bridges in England. And at the last second, he told him, something was calling from above, told him not to do it due to his family. And the rest is history. He makes a comeback. He has two tune-up fights, if I'm not mistaken. And then he goes into the ring with, at the time, was the face of boxing in Deontay Wilder. Now, this is where, as much as I would love to throw in his story, his comeback story, somebody with addictions, whether it's drug addiction or food addiction, depression, we still got to be honest. And looking at his record before even his clash with Klitschko, look, I'm just going to say this. It is a lousy time in boxing history in terms of competition. Besides Deontay Wilder in this division, maybe there was Chisora that was a good contender at the time. Dillian White, maybe. Look, at the end of the day, when I look at Tyson Fury's boxing record, if his first 13 fights, 5 of them, a little bit less than half of those first 13 fights were against boxers with losing records. Look, we had an entire episode. I had an entire episode talking about Julio Cesar Chavez being overrated a few months back. And the only reason why I had that episode is because all the comments I would get whenever I would talk about Julio Cesar Chavez, was, he fought tomato cans on his journey to his undefeated record before his first loss. And I was like, okay, maybe there's some merit in that. Granted, at the time with Cesar Chavez, they were fighting 4 or 5 plus times a year, and it's hard to fight. It's hard to fight top contenders every single time. There was also the thing about Don King. Don King, he had Don King as a promoter. He knew to bring in the Mexican audience that prolonging Chavez's undefeated career was necessary, but eventually in that mid 80s to early 90s realm, when Chavez turned that corner, was becoming the one of the top faces of boxing, he would start fighting that top tier competition and still dominate. Now, going back to Tyson Fury, I mean, you're talking about a professional career that started in 2008 and wouldn't be until 2015 to when he's finally starting to fight top tier competition against Derek Chisora. If you want to count Steve Cunningham, I could see that a little bit. Steve Cunningham was at the time, one of those fighters in the heavyweight division that had a little bit of clout, but nothing really was going on. I compare this era of boxing kind of close, maybe a step above the 1980s as being a decade of dud thumping, slow footed, flat footed heavyweight boxers. And I honestly think that Tyson Fury, I mean, look, I mean, you can't fake 6'9". How are you going to train for 6'9"? So nobody really had an answer for him. Now, if I want to go ahead and go a little bit further into the conversation here, when it comes to Tyson Fury, look, after his upset in the year, his first fight in 2018 was a draw with Deontay Wilder. Iconic fight. His first major fight back after his bout with weight gain and depression. And that was a fight that's gonna live on. If I'm not mistaken, I even think it was the fight of the year by the Ring magazine, if I'm not mistaken. And that comeback that he made to show the world that he is a top boxer is something that I don't know if I ever agreed with. Now, a few episodes back, I think on the episode where I had Tyson Fury versus the legends of the 70s or the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. Um, the problem I had with Tyson Fury is that automatically everybody started anointing him the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time.
It was honestly, and this is maybe a hot take about Tyson. I think that Tyson is the greatest heavyweight ever. I think he's the greatest, which makes him probably I don't know.
What's the boxing expert saying though? What do you think?
I agree with that one.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you mean that in the sense
For
of
heavyweight, yes.
if they all
Not
fought,
greatest
If they all
heavyweight.
fought each other, I don't think anybody could beat Tyson.
because of right? Okay, yeah.
I think the size, the skill, now the power. Earlier in his career, he didn't see this power, and all of a sudden, like he's just fucking dropping
I
people.
think
And his accomplishments, the fact that he beat Deontay, everybody gets knocked out by Deontay Wilder.
Crazy.
He's the only one who gets off the deck and
power
beats him.
punching is
and then
fucking
stops
insane.
him in the third fight. I mean, dude, Tyson Fury's a fucking monster. One of the greatest heavyweights of all time.
Yeah.
Unquestionably.
Doesn't get the credit for it, though, really.
If he retires today, Tyson Fury goes down as one of the all-time greatest heavyweights. He deserves to be mentioned with Joe Louis and Mike Tyson. Like, what would happen if those guys get together? If he fought Lennox Lewis in his prime, he's in that level.
Yeah.
Put posts where a bunch of comedian podcasters and fighting podcasters were saying that he is even greater than Muhammad Ali. And I'm thinking, like, what is happening? Have you guys seen his record? And then he gets the second and third bout and totally controls Deontay Wilder all 3 times. I honestly think that he pretty much won every single one of those 3 rounds, with the exception of the knockdown rounds that Deontay Wilder had of him. But look, the only way I would put Fury and Muhammad Ali in the same sentence is just the fact that he is the only one out of 3 heavyweights to ever win the Ring magazine title twice. Which, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't understand this love affair for Tyson Fury. Is he a good story? Yes. Is he the face of boxing? Look, he's up there. We just had there was a ranking of the top 3 boxers, earning boxers as of 2023, 2024, and Canelo was number 1, Tyson Fury was number 2, and Anthony Joshua, if I'm not mistaken, was number 3. Goes to show you that he has a lot of pull. He has a great, phenomenal personality. Everybody loved after his big bouts that he would win, or I don't want to say big bouts, but his bouts that he would win, that he would start singing Sweet Caroline and other songs after the fight. And I'll just say this. I think to put him as an all-time great would be, I can't do that. I don't even know if I put him top 10 of my greatest boxing heavyweights of all time. Just off the top of my head, I got Joe Louis, I got Sonny Liston, I got Marciano, I got Muhammad Ali, of course, Joe Frazier, George Foreman. I mean, I could go down the list. I would even put Ken Norton above him. Mike Tyson. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, let's get Mike Tyson. Let's put Evander Holyfield. Let's put Lennox Lewis. I'll probably even put Riddick Bowe, even though Riddick Bowe and Tyson Fury, in my opinion, they kind of have a similar career. Sorry about that. They have a similar career where they lost discipline, and they were, we saw shortcomings from Riddick Bowe. And I'll say this about Tyson Fury as well. I know I'm going kind of fast here. He kind of, this might be a little bit of a hot take. Tell me in my comments if I'm a little bit off base here. Okay, guys. I kind of compare Tyson Fury to Shaquille O'Neal. And the reason why I say that is because Shaquille O'Neal, after Michael Jordan retired after the Bulls, people were wondering who's going to step up, who's going to be the next guy. I know the San Antonio Spurs won the title right after the Chicago Bulls did when Michael Jordan retired. But then after that, it was, I mean, some of you guys might not be versed in basketball, but, oops, sorry, guys. Shaq and the Lakers will go on this insane tear where Shaq was pretty much unblockable, unstoppable. He was doing anything he wanted. He controlled the league for 3 solid years. And not to mention, leading up to those 3 solid years, he was a top 5, top 10 player in the league already. But then all of a sudden, he doesn't win an MVP. A lot of people believe that he lost his MVP voting because a lot of votes went to Kobe Bryant as well. Rest in peace. And they took a lot of votes from each other. After that, he kind of hit, like, he started getting lazy. And I have all the respect for Shaquille O'Neal, but a lot of boxing I'm sorry, a lot of basketball journalists and even basketball players during that era says that he just took his foot off the gas pedal. That all of a sudden he started slowing down. He wasn't taking it seriously. One of the big frustrations with Kobe Bryant was that Shaquille O'Neal was so undisciplined. We've seen, going back to Tyson Fury, we've seen him lose his discipline, not taking fights seriously. I know he's always the biggest guy in the room. So was Shaquille O'Neal, and we never got to see what Shaquille O'Neal could have been. Imagine if Shaquille O'Neal would have stayed focused, had half the drive of Kobe Bryant. He probably would have been the greatest of all time, no doubt about it. Tyson Fury tends to go up and down in weight. He doesn't take his opponent seriously at times, and we saw it. Unfortunately, we saw it when he fought Francis Ngannou. He underestimated his opponent. What's the number one rule when it comes to boxing? Never underestimate your opponent. Always show up, always show respect, and give the best fight possible. He slept on Francis Ngannou, and even though he pulled out the victory, everybody knows that Francis Ngannou pretty much won that fight for the people. The people. He was the people's champ. And all of a sudden, what ended up happening, and I had an entire episode on this, was that Fury ended up giving boxing a bad name. It's bad enough that boxing right now is struggling, just trying to find media outlets to show the product. But then here we are, one of the main faces of boxing. Probably some people would say the face of boxing, and he doesn't show up. He comes in overweight against Francis Ngannou, and he gets put down on the mat. As a boxing fan lover, spend my entire life watching with my father. I have phenomenal memories watching with my father and family and friends in the neighborhood growing up with these big old boxing matches from the 80s and 90s. That was a dark time for me because it made me kind of question. I was even the title for boxing. Is boxing for that episode? Is boxing done? Because if we're gonna let these UFC guys come in and take over boxing, then we have an issue. And thank God, Anthony Joshua, who at the time was struggling, cleaned up the mess. Another Britishman, countryman of Tyson Fury, cleaned up the mess and knocked Francis Ngannou in the middle next week. And look, I was happy that he did have his comeback. He gets into very good shape to fight Usyk, took it seriously. But even then, what did we see in the middle of that fight? Early on in that fight, him clowning in the corner. I get it. There's showmanship in boxing and everything like that. I understand that. But at a certain point, when you are fighting for every single one of those belts and you are fighting to redeem your reputation, because let's face it, Tyson Fury, he gave boxing a big black eye and a big old ding on the side of the fender. And he needed to come back and make a statement. But as we know, Alexander Usyk comes in. In my book, the fight should have been called off in that round where Usyk connects with those hellacious hooks. And Tyson Fury is just about to bust through the ropes, leaning against the ropes. That should have been called. I think the referee, I don't know what the referee was thinking. It kind of felt, I don't know, something was going on there. But Tyson Fury, in my opinion, without a doubt, is overrated. Is he a product of the times? Absolutely. I think if he would have fought in the 90s with Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield, even Mike Tyson, Francis Galata, David Tua, who else in the name? Tommy Morrison, even an old school George Foreman, Michael Moore. I think they all would have had their way with Tyson Fury. In an instance, I think Riddick Bowe would have destroyed him. I think who else am I leaving out? Ray Mercer would have destroyed him. I think boxing in the 90s, I think he would have been buried. I don't even think he would have been a second tier great fighter. He would have probably been more in the lines of a gimmick. I think we would have seen him fight against Butterbean because we wanted to see the polar opposites fight against each other just for the circus and the show. But because of his flamboyant personality, his gigantic size, and let's be honest, he is swift in the ring. He has light feet for such a big man. I think that's what catapults him. I think that's what gave a lot of people that ooh and ah when they would watch him and throw him in to the Mount Rushmore of greatest boxers of all time, greatest heavyweights ever, putting him above Muhammad Ali. I don't know, man. I think that was a disservice. I think that is mocking boxing to the 100th power. And if you want to go even further, let's take him to the 70s. Joe Frazier would have mopped him. George Foreman probably would have retired him. Muhammad Ali would have broken him down endurance wise. Shoot. Ernie Shavers. He gets hit by Ernie Shavers with that hook. I'll say this: if Deontay Wilder at that time was considered has the greatest uppercut and hooks and jabs of all time, Ernie Shavers is not that far behind. If Wilder was able to get him down, Ernie Shavers certainly would have as well. I mean, what are we talking about here? If I had to put Tyson Fury into an all-time ranking, certainly not top 10, not top 15. I'm debating between 20 to 25 is my top, is where I would put him on the all-time greats. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head who I would have above him. Maybe he has more of the accolades, but we got to consider the times, guys. This from 2015 on to 2024 today, this has not been a good decade and a half. This has not been a good decade for heavyweight boxing. Was it fun with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury as they were the biggest personalities and they finally met in the ring, had those exceptional entrance walks into the ring? Yes. But I'll be honest with you too. Deontay Wilder is hell of an overrated boxer as well. Tyson Fury was a match made in heaven for, I'm sorry, Deontay Wilder was a match made in heaven for Tyson Fury, as Tyson Fury would use his weight and just lean on him over and over and over and just putting the exhaustion. I mean, there was a point in that second and third fight where I saw it felt like Deontay Wilder's tongue was grazing the mat, trying to survive to get out of that ring alive due to endurance. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that, guys. Tell me what you think. Is Tyson Fury overrated? And no, I'm not saying this. I'm not having this topic because of Francis Ngannou or his loss to Usyk. I've been wanting to have this conversation for a while. It is finally here. Tell me what you guys think into the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And most importantly, don't forget to stick and move, baby.
I am the greatest. I wish I was 50 years younger and I'd kick your ass. Just stick and move. And making you understand, now stick and move.